A top immunologist says he regrets voting for Joe Biden after the president announced strict new vaccine mandates last week. In a tweet, he says, quote, "I voted for Biden as a McCain Republican. It was an error, and I now regret it. Thursday night's chest beating was one of the most destructive and divisive speeches ever given by a U.S. president who claims to be a well-reasoned uniter, acting on science." Joining us now to explain is immunologist Dr. Hooman Noorchashm. Doctor, what brought you to that point?
Good morning, Brian. Thanks very much for having me. Look, I was reflecting this past weekend on the 9/11 remembrance, and I remember back in 2001 how essentially every media outlet was united and transmitting the same message. You know, we're in a position where our country for the past several years has been tremendously divided. And, frankly, as a friend to John McCain, I felt that President Biden stands a chance of uniting the country, acting on science, taking down the temperature, if you will. And, on Thursday, I finally came to the recognition as an immunologist, based on the rigidity of this mandate and the massive blunder that's contained within it, that this is not happening. I have to say, the mandate as it stands, essentially has opened the door to discrimination against about 80 to 100 million Americans who are naturally immune. I mean, these folks are essentially being discriminated against. The President of the United States pointed to them and opened the door to a massive level of discrimination. And it's not just, verbal discrimination. We're talking about loss of employment. I can't tell you the number of emails I receive every day of Americans who are naturally immune. And I know from a scientific perspective, and I know some of your guests in the past have talked about this, certainly Dr. Macary's been on with Tucker and with a variety of different hosts. Natural immunity is as effective, if not more so, than vaccine immunity. So the notion that the President of the United States leaves the door open to this level of discrimination against a massive class of Americans is just totally unacceptable.
You know what I was struck by with your huge with this rich background, University of Pennsylvania, this is your area of expertise, but you say it's unscientific, it's illegal, but you also say it's unethical to give somebody a vaccine when they have natural immunity. And if 75% of the country has already gotten one shot, and you factor in the natural immunity, maybe there's something else going on here, doctor, and maybe people who aren't vaccinated aren't villains as they're being made out to be.
Well, look, I think certainly there's a place for immunity mandates, right? I mean, especially in places of public engagement. But the reality is, in the midst of this outbreak, there are about 100 million Americans, according to CDC estimates, who are already naturally immune. And these folks are, for the most part, the vast majority of them are actually immune. And I think that the notion that if any particular subset of these folks wants to avoid the vaccination at this time, that they would be forced at the risk of loss of employment or educational opportunities, I think it's completely draconian.
It's nuts.
Frankly, it goes in the face of medical necessity, and frankly, I think it's a constitutional violation. I mean, right now we're in the process of litigating a case out in Michigan against Michigan State University. The plaintiff is Gina Norris, and the New Civil Liberties Alliance is going to be litigating this in federal court. The idea is this actually an unconstitutional thing when it comes to the class of millions of Americans who are naturally immune? I believe it's medically, ethically, incorrect, and certainly it's very likely that it's constitutionally a violation as well.
And I can't tell you, as someone apolitical like you, a doctor who's an expert in the field saying it has so much weight. Dr. Noorchashm, thanks so much.
Thanks for having me, Brian.